Hi everyone, Amanda here. Welcome to my channel. I wanted to do a video today to show everyone how to make your own planner dividers. Now some people, or I'm sure a lot of people actually probably already know how to do this, but I thought that there's probably some people out there that didn't know that they could actually make their own dividers. I'm going to show you how to make dividers for a personal size planner. This would be a Kiki K or a Color Crush, Filofax, basically any ring binder that fits a personal size, and the dividers are going to be 3.75 by 6.75. So I will type it down below so you can get that. And basically the biggest thing is choosing your paper. So I have a pad of paper here from Tim Holtz, and I've used some of it, but I have not made any planner dividers out of it. So I thought this might make some good dividers for me. So I'm going to just take off the cover because I don't need it. And I'm going to kind of look at it and say, I like this. I like that pattern with the roses. And I look for something that's going to be about the size of a divider. So the nest would be pretty. This one is a nice floral arrangement. And we've got like that postcard's pretty cool there. I really like this one. So I think I'm going to pull this one out because I know I think I really want this one. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out and set that aside. And I like the bird too, so I think I'm going to take the bird. This is the Tim Holtz, let me tell you, it is Wallflower by Tim Holtz, Ideology. I believe I got this at Michael's, but you can get it, if it's still available, you can get it lots of different places. If I can find a link to it for you, I will do that. Just in case you thought this was like a really cool pattern, and like I do. I do like these flowers here as well. And I think actually I might do butterflies and the flowers. The other thing you'll want to think about is, you know, your theme, what theme you want, what, how many you want, and then kind of like start thinking about what order you want to put them in. And I really like this. I typically make 6 dividers. That's 1 dashboard and then 5 dividers. So let me see, I've got one, because I'm going to take these birds here, and I've got the flowers, so that's 2, and this bird is 3, and then I'm going to do this and this, so that's 4 and 5. So I need one more. So let's see, I do like these, but I'm not, oh, the nest would kind of be kind of cool. So maybe I'll do the nest also, but let me run through this just real quick to make sure there's nothing else. I believe I did a mini book on this, and I'm not sure if I shared that in a video or not. I'll have to check that out. But this paper, it lends itself to a mini album very well because you've got these papers in the back that are basically all the other papers, and they're all already by 6 by 6. So if you wanted to do a 6 by 6 album or anything smaller, they're already there. And in the back, there's some cut aparts that are like 4 by 4 or 3 by 3. I'm sorry. So for my planner dividers, I'm not going to use any of these because I want solid pictures. So I'm going to take this and put this aside and put this one back in here because I didn't use it. And there we go. And if you want to know, if after I do this, if there's anybody out there that wants to know how to make A5 size planner dividers, I'll be happy to show that as well. So here we've got our nest, we've got some flowers, and I've got to try to think about what do I want to be on my dashboard. I guess I don't have to think about it yet. So let's just start cutting. And I'm hoping this will stay inside the frame. It was kind of difficult to get it all in there. But if not, I will let you know that I am cutting the paper 3.75 right here. If you can see it, 3.75 by 6.75. And that 6.75 is very kind of hard to see on this. But what I do is it lines up exactly with this plastic ridge here. So I just lock it right there and cut. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna do the nest first. So let's go. I know that my 3.75 is gonna be right about here. So I'm trying to think of where do I want to cut this? How much of the nest do I want to be in there? So I'm going to take a little ruler and I'm just going to line this up just a little bit. And I don't always have to do this. This is mostly because I'm cutting inside of a page. And then I have another ruler and it's like this. So it's basically like between these two lines is what my divider would be. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I kind of have an eyeball way of doing it. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut my 6.75. And like I said, I'm just going to butt it right up against this. And I'm going to cut. I've tried many different cutters and trimmers, and I'm just, you can set this paper aside, and I really just prefer this Fiskars. It does the job very well for me. Okay, so we're going to bring that over, and I kind of know what I want, but I'm going to line it up just one more time and just to check and see. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm going to cut this way once. And then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to line it up at 3.75. And I always make sure it's lined up, you know, against this line to keep it straight. And cut again. And there's your the first makings of the divider. For this one, I'm not going to measure yet because I know I want my divider to start right here. So I'm going to put this up like this and just kind of eyeball it where I want it. And I'm going to go ahead and cut as long as it's over past this line. If it was above here, I would not be able to do it because I need to make sure I have enough room. So let's go ahead and cut here. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to go see what my 3.75 would look like. And this is what it would look like right now. It would be this. And you know, that's okay, but I think I want it to be a little bit more centered. And like I said, you don't have to do this all the time, especially if your paper is like a solid pattern. Like if I was doing something with just a one pattern, I wouldn't have to do this. I could just do a couple cuts. So I'm going to keep it right there. And I'm going to cut. And then I'm going to flip it around again and mark it at 3.75. And I'm going to cut. And that's the second divider. So I really like the way these are turning out so far because I like the combination of the flowers and the birds. And then I also know that I wanted to do one of the butterflies. So let's kind of center this. And that's going to be too far to the left. So I'm going to move it here. And I'm going to just see where my rulers line up. think I'm going to pull it this way just a little bit. No, I meant this way. Sorry. Okay, so that is good. And I'm going to make my cut. You know what? I forgot one thing, and I'll come back to that. And then I'm going to cut this at 375. And maybe some of you out there already realized the mistake that I made. It's not a mistake, just a step. Is that I needed this to be at 6.75. So I'm going to flip this around so that I'm not cutting off the top. And I'm butting this up against the edge again and cut. Now I've trimmed it down, and that looks really, really cool because there's just enough space for the alphabet letters there and the butterfly. It's gorgeous. And then I'm gonna go ahead and trim this one down. Okay, so now we're ready for our fourth divider, and it's going to be this bird. And I know I'm going to keep this edge, so I'm going to go ahead and bump this up to the edge here and give it a good cut. And then I'm going to try to get as much of the bird in as possible. So for this one, I'm not so concerned about how much is left on this side. I just am concerned that I get his whole entire beak in. So I'm lining it up so that I see his beak, and then I'm cutting. And then I will turn it around, and this time I will cut part of the bird. And I'm okay with that because it will look like he's coming off the page. So we will cut. And I think that is, even though his tail is gone, I really think that that is a good divider. And then let's see, we have, the next one is this floral. And I have to think about, okay, what part of this, and I'm probably only going to be able to get this side because it's not wide enough to get both of these. And then I also know that I want to include this part up here. So what I'm going to do first is I think I'm going to see how much of my flower I want in first. Because right here, if I do it at 3.75, I've got about this much. That's pretty much what would be inside. And I kind of like that, but I think I'm going to go just a little bit more this way. And the reason why I'm not cutting the top off first, like I did in all the others, is because I want to try to keep this flower whole. Because if I had cut it the other way at the top, it would have cut the flower off from the stem. So that's why I did not do that. And then I'm going to choose how much room I want at the top, because I have plenty here to kind of mess with at the end. So I'm just going to put it up to where I can have the green leaves showing, and I'm going to cut. And then I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to cut it at 6.75. And then I'm going to trim, decide which side do I want to trim. I want to just trim this side. So I'm lining it up at 3.75 and giving it a good cut. So we've got, I'll put all my scraps over here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so we just need one more. I cut out are these pretty beautiful birds, and I know I'm just going to center in this section of the paper, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it at 6.75. And then now when I go to look at it, I kind of have to think, how much of the bird do I want to be in there? And if I lined it up at 3.75 right here, I would get about that much of the bird, and that's lined up. And I think I want to be able to cut off a little bit here. So I'm just going to pull it over to the side just a little bit. But I'm not going to get in the bird cage. I don't want the bird cage in there. I'd rather have a little bit more on this side. So I'm going to cut and then flip it around and cut. And now's the fun part. We get to decide which way I want the dividers to go. And I get them all out here and kind of decide, I think I know that I want this one first. And after that one, I kind of like to alternate things. So like, I don't want two flowers together. I don't want two birds together. So maybe this one here, and then my butterflies, the birds, flowers, and the nest. And I'm not sure I'm happy with that. So I'm going to flip out the flowers and see if that makes a difference. And the things I'm looking for are like the colors. Like this is kind of got a pink background and it melds into this because I like it to have some kind of a flow. And the other thing is I'm not so sure I like this one here. So I'm going to swap out my nest and put that there. And then that kind of lines up with some notes for those. And then I'm going to move my butterflies back here and leave this for the end. And the reason why I put the butterflies here is because the blue kind of picks up there and I liked it more than the yellow picked up there. If I had to do it again, I might switch out this flower and put it with something else. But that's okay, because if I wanted to make another set of dividers, I could do that. So now we have our order. We know this is going to be at the dashboard, and then these are all our dividers. So now we have to make the tabs for the dividers. And I have a couple of different tools I use for this. I have the We Are Memory Keepers tab divider punch. So you just put the paper in there and it punches in the like tab shape. And this becomes very useful. But I mostly use this one for, I will use it for some personal size, but I mostly use it for my A5s. Then for my personal size, the one I use the most is this one. This is a retired product. I bought it from eBay. I think I paid about $20 for it. When I'm doing dividers, I kind of try to use scraps. So like, if I'm gonna have like cream color tabs, I will look for like scrap paper of cream color. If I'm going to, and it has to be something that you can see, you know, unless you have labels that you're gonna have on the dividers. So then I look in my scraps here, see is there any design that I like. That one's not too bad. I'm not sure it would fit 5 dividers. And it's going the wrong direction. So let me look at some of the paper that we discarded or set aside. That one's kind of pretty. And the blue is definitely pretty. That's more blue. That's a very neutral color. That might not be too bad. That's very neutral also. But I like a lot of color. So I am going to go with the blue. So now I have my paper, I'm going to punch it, and I'm going to turn it, I hold my punch like this, and then I'm going to turn it upside down so that it will line up correctly. And I don't worry about the front if it's, you know, if the lines are lined up or anything, I just do the best I can. So that's 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to flip it over because I want the pattern to stay the same, and a 5. So now we're done punching. The next thing I'm going to do is score, lightly score in the middle so that folding the tabs is a little easier. And I use my bone folder and I just kind of freehand it, and I just do the best I can. Sometimes I use my my Fisker's paper trimmer for it, but I don't have to because I'm only doing 5. If I was doing a whole bunch at the same time, I probably would do it either on my scoring board or on my Fisker's trimmer. And I'm kind of lining this up right with my self-healing pad because I can line it up on the line. And it's like you don't need a big line or anything. You just need to be able to fold it and get it correctly. And I'm going to use the bone folder again to make sure they are folded flat. And I try to line them up exactly even. So now we have little tabs, and I'm just going to take my bone folder again and just go along the edges. And I will tell you the trick, like you can do more than one at a time. I don't know why it works, but it does. That if I just do this all at one time and they're all done. And now we're going to adhere them to the dividers. And what I use is just plain old Tombow mono dots adhesive. This is like permanent adhesive. And this is my favorite, all-time favorite adhesive. I've tried everything, and I use a lot of different adhesives, but for this specifically, this is what I use. And I'm just going to open one up, and I put some adhesive right like this. And then I'm going to take my first divider, and I'm just going to line it up right at the edges. And it's very much lined up just flush there. And then I'm going to fold it over and adhere it, and it's done. So next one I'm going to do is my last one, and I'm going to put it like right here in front. Going to put on my adhesive. I don't recommend glue or glue stick, because if you laminate these, you don't want to see that glue or glue stick once it's laminated. So now what I did was I took the front one and I used it as a guide so that I know where to put this, and I got it flush to the edge again, and now I'm going to adhere it. Now I have my first and my last done, and I'm going to work on the third one, the middle one. And I do the same thing. I line them up together. I add my adhesive, and I just kind of line it up, eyeball it as best as possible, and make it really flush against the edge of the divider. And then, so now we've got 3 done, and we're going to work on the second one. And you can see it kind of gives you a guide to know where to place your divider tabs. So let's get the next one. And I put it right in the center. There we go, and we've got one more left, which is the butterflies. We're going to put the adhesive on the tab. And then we will go ahead and place this on there. And just like that, our dividers are made, and we've got our dashboard. So we have 5 dividers and 1 dashboard. Now at this point, you can laminate them if you want to, and or you can just use them, just keep them like this. It depends on what you want for your dividers. Do you want to save them and use them over and over again, or is this just a one and done type thing? And if it's a one and done, why laminate and make it hard when you can just handwrite on your tabs and be done, if that's a one and done. But if you want to keep these and preserve them, I do recommend laminating them. And I don't find that I need a huge edge, so just a little bit, maybe a little edge around the tabs here. But honestly, if you laminate your dividers and you let it cool down, then you can cut the lamin right up to the edge, and it's not going to come apart. And the reason why it comes apart is when people try to cut lamin too early on the divider. And I know this from my teaching days, because I used to laminate bulletin board items constantly. So, you know, I had to cut them right up to the edge. Now, if I was using contact paper, I would leave an edge around it. But with lamination, you don't have to. And for labels, I would typically laminate these and then add my own labels. And the labels I would add are ones that I purchased from Planner Kate. She sells these cutest little sheets of tab labels. So I have calendar, I have miscellaneous, I have a finance tab, home tab, to-do tab, stickers, health. She has all kinds of them, and she will even do custom orders. So if you have list, projects, weekly, if you have things that you want for your tab dividers, she will make them custom made. I believe they're $2 each. If you follow her on Instagram, she has a code on her Instagram for 10% off. So I put these on after I laminate. And that's because if I want to use these again, I can peel it right off the lamination. And if I'm not going to, I would just put them right here. After you've put on your divider tabs and you've laminated or not laminated, depending on what you choose, that's at the point I cut them out, and that's at the point where I also punch the holes. So I put on my labels and I punch the holes. And what I use for a hole punch for this size is the Michaels Recollections hole punch. It is an investment. It's $25, but I used a 40 or 50% off to get it. And I've used others in the past. This is made specifically for the personal size. I love it. If it broke, I would definitely buy another one. And what I was so happy to see is that Michaels also came out with an A5 size, and that thrilled me to no end, because I was still using one that I had bought off of Amazon, and it was this one here. And honestly, this is a good one. It's not a bad one. So if you already have this and you don't want to purchase one from Michaels, that's fine. But what I found when I did this is I always had to make sure I clicked these in place before I did my cuts, only because, and I'm dropping little pieces of holes everywhere, but they would shift a little bit, and the Michaels ones don't do that. So then you would punch your holes, and after you've laminated them. How you make your own planner dividers. If you wanted to make an A5 size, you would just make different dimensions, and then I would use a different tab. And if you have any questions at all about how to make your dividers, or how to choose your paper, or anything at all, if you know, just feel free to leave a comment and ask me. I don't mind at all. And I make these dividers all the time, so I you know, of course, it's going to be a little bit easier when you've done it repetitively. But honestly, anybody can do this. Anybody can make their own dividers. And even though I do sell these in my Etsy store, I still believe in empowering people to make their own. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I hope this kind of helped you if you wanted to make your own planner dividers. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.